Distinguished guests, chefs, journalists, ladies and gentlemen, culinary artists, and connoisseurs, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and welcome to the Best Chef Dubai 2024, Food Meets Science. Allow me to introduce on stage the pastry master, Antonio Bashur. Antonio Bashur grew up in Puerto Rico and was hooked on pastry from a young age, thanks to a childhood spent in his family bakery. He is the winner of the Best Pastry Chef in 2018 and 22 and has been spending a bulk of his time teaching pastry around the world and working his flagship store, which opened in Coral Gables in 2019. Please welcome Chef Antonio Bashur.
Hello, everybody. I want to extend my warm welcome to everybody here today in Dubai at the Best Chef Award. I'm very happy to see this year many people from Guatemala, from Dominican Republic, from Mexico, from South America, from New Zealand, from Asia. The Best Chef Award that become very famous everywhere. You know, everybody talking about the Best Chef Award
Well, first
in
of all,
China, everywhere.
first of all, I want to welcome you to Dubai.
Thank
Second
you.
of all, I'd love to know a little bit more about the Best Chef Awards. Can you tell us how it started, how long you've been involved?
You know, I think I've been involved since they started like a few years ago, 8 years ago. I think I was the second one to win the Best Chef, Pastry Chef in 2018. You know, I saw Christian and Joanna put the passion to put this community of chefs together everywhere. You know, there was contact everybody, knocking door by door to come to the Best Chef Award. And today, when I see so many chefs, everybody in Dubai that is one of the capital now of food, I'm very happy. Yesterday at the Aria Talk, we see many chefs. You know, I was so happy because when we did the first one, it was like 100, 200 people, 300 people. Now it's 1,000 people.
Wow.
You know, crazy. But
Wow.
thanks to everybody, to the chef, to the journalists, to the hospitality people, you know, now the Best Chef Award become one of the most prestigious lists in the world.
Amazing. I mean, you do feel a personal touch to it, which is amazing. I want to know if you can tell me a bit about how the rankings go and what makes it different than other awards.
You know, the ranking, I think they send the chef votes. The good thing about this ranking that we vote for chef. We don't vote for restaurant, the best chef. Uh, that is to, I think, they give more value to the chef than the restaurant. The chef, today chef is, I think now, is more rated than before, because the chef, we're working a lot of hours. We're working 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're working when everybody's on holiday. We're cooking, we're making pastry for everybody. And I think now is to honor the chef, the best chef award.
Which it's definitely deserved nowadays, definitely. So how do you think it's going to be different this year now that it's in Dubai?
Dubai is Dubai. I think we did so many chef awards in Europe, last year in Merida, but Dubai is a big city. I think in Dubai now is one of the capital of food with a lot of great chefs. I think Dubai is Dubai. I think Habibi, come to Dubai.
I love that. And especially that it's central. I think it's a big turn up this year.
It's very central. From Europe, a few hours. From Asia, a few hours. From even it's far away from South America or United States. But I think Dubai, everybody wants to come to Dubai. I think it's the best choice to make the best chef award in Dubai.
Absolutely. And finally, just a question for you. What was the moment in your career where you thought, I made it? I still working. I just came from Argentina. Last 2 weeks ago, I was in Sydney. I love, it's my passion. Also, I thank Best Chef Award when after I won the first one, my career went up. People start coming from everywhere. From last year I've been in more than 60 countries. This year I've been only 10 days in my home. The Best Chef Award, like most of the list, but this one for me make a special assessment. They make my career jumping. I'm very happy, and I want to say thank you all the chefs that been involved in this voting and this community. And then this is a community for sharing, to friendly, to have a friend. It's not competition. It's about not chef. It's all about community.
It's about community.
I love that. Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank
Antonio.
you. Enjoy today. Food Meet Science will be a great staff of chef roster. Enjoy and welcome to Dubai. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking all our guests coming from all over the world. And I'd like to thank our partners for making all this possible. And a big shout out to everybody that works in our industry. It's a lot of hours, hard work, sweat, and sacrifice. So just a special thanks for all the hospitality hands that make all this possible. Please remember to tune in to our live stream, and don't forget to mention us on the socials at the Best Chef Awards and at Foods Meet Science. Our first presentation is by Chef Himanshu Saini. He learned the nuances of cooking from his mother, and he spent so much of his childhood in Old Delhi's Sriwalan, known for its 100-year-old shops and markets, historical Mughal landmarks, and authentic street food.
India, the birthplace of civilization that stretches back over 5,000 years. A universe unto itself, this is a land where ancient traditions live alongside a dynamic modern society. Here, the rhythm of life are still dictated by age-old festivals. Indians continue to forge new traditions, driven by passion, supported by a nation of over 1 billion people. This is a country where geography, nature, and climate shapes the lives of its people and the food they cherish. And in this menu, Crescent Studio invites you on a journey through this incredible land. Through the current Rising India menu, we celebrate the spirit of this extraordinary nation. This culinary journey, a tribute to 75 years of independence, explores India's rich food identity through 4 key regions: the Thar Desert, the Deccan Plateau, the coastal plains and islands, and the northern plains and Himalayan mountains. India's landscape tell the story of its people, history, and food, woven together by the beauty of its natural wonders and timeless traditions. At Crescent Studio, we humbly offer our own language to the chorus of Indian cuisine. A modern, simplified version, refined yet authentic and comforting at its heart. Welcome to Rising India, a celebration of diversity, tradition, and the unbreakable spirit of this incredible nation.
Presenting Inspiration Sadia Celebration of Flavors. Please welcome Chef Himanshu Saini from Crescent Studio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Himanshu Saini, and I'm from Crescent Studio Restaurant in Dubai. With this video, which you just saw, it's just a brief introduction to what we do in our restaurant. I'm not going to tell you everything about it because I want all of you to visit at some point or the other. But the main reason why I'm here is to talk about one dish which is very close to me. The dish is called Sadhya. It's inspired from one of the ceremonies in South India for a festival called Onam. Sadhya is a feast, it means banquet, and it's done to celebrate the first harvest of the season. For the family meal, all the guests, they sit on the floor and they have a banana leaf in front of them. And the whole meal is served on the leaf one by one, from pickles to papadum to curry, rice, even desserts. Almost 25 dishes are served one by one, like a spoonful. When people eat, they use their hands, and since everything is so precisely portioned, they end up mixing a bit of everything together. And I think that's a brilliant moment for me, is to explore a bit of all the flavors, textures, and temperatures from the ceremony. For me, it is very important because it's also highlight the cultural values in India. For us, we always means a value which is a philosophy also called Atiti Devo Bhava, which means guest is God. So with this ceremony, I think it touches so many hearts, so many people who have dined with us. I think it's a mark we always leave with them with this dish. It's a dish which comes just in the middle of the menu, and it's not savory, it's not sweet, it's something a bit of a reflection of my full menu. But then it's a dish, we've been doing it for many years, and every year we add another layer of flavor, texture, or temperature in the dish. But then, just recently, a few months ago, we've got a guest in the house who was enjoying this dish, and then they posted this video on Instagram, for example. And the video got like really viral on the internet. And it was a big moment for me because we're still exploring Indian food with this menu. But I was so happy that there's someone who posted this video and it's gone viral. And there were so many remarks and comments which were amazing to read. But at the same time, these comments have taken out of context. And it is building upon negativity, or it's building upon taking this dish out of proportions. And it was a moment which was I was not satisfied, I was not fulfilling. But then that's the idea. I mean, people when see dishes from distance, they will not understand the narrative of it. It's just that when they come and experience, they know the story, then they can resonate with it. I have both the videos for you guys to see that how it got viral and how people have taken it out of proportion. It's just our way to lead you to the ceremony which we will perform in front of your eyes for you to decide, for you to leave with questions, and you to decide if it's worth it or not.
Appelmoes.
Well done.
And then we've got the other one. For me, it's a funny video. I think we can all laugh about this, but then let's decide which one is worth it. We've got many comments which I couldn't post. I've put out some decent ones for you to read. But then I think it's a beauty of internet that it can make us laugh all the time. But then for me, it's also emotional at the same time because it's a dish where I resonate with. It's a dish from my country. It's not something to make fun of. But I understand the pun. But at the same time, I want to get it right for people because when this video got viral, I've got so many messages from the chefs, from the friends who've been to the restaurant, who understood the dish, and they were trying to sympathize with me, but I was okay, and I think this is a moment for me to give my justification, to try to make everyone understand that this is not about a fine dine gimmick where we try to make people entertained. Yes, we want to make people entertained, but with food, flavor, story, make them people understand the heritage, the culture, which we are so proud of. So now I want to do this in real. I've got my team with me, and I want to do it in front of you guys. And then when I finish, I'll try to explain the composition, the dishes. I'm not saying that I'm going to do the ceremony. We always say that we've taken inspiration from it because it's a meal on its own. It cannot be just tiny portion. And also when people see it on internet, they think it's a dish on its own, which may be costing $100 for it. But let me please welcome my team who's going to help me perform this ceremony.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to choose a few people to come up and actually experience this ceremony. So hands up who has not been to Tresson Studio. Okay, one person here. Come with me. Yes, come on. Who else has not been? Would you like to take a seat just on the corner there for me? Thank you. One man, I need one lady now. Hands up, girls. Here we go. Yes, you're the smiliest person in the room. Come with me. Who next? Wait. Here we go, come on. And you, sir. Yes, let's go. Yeah, that's great, thanks. Oh, sorry, I chose one too many. Sorry, buddy. Have a seat, darling. Sorry, guys that missed out. You're just going to have to come to the restaurant.
Is it okay with my hand like this?
I think so, yes.
Yes. So similar to this is how the ceremony is performed. Dishes are served exactly like this. But as I said, the ceremony is also more elaborate than what we just did. It's just to make our guests understand the process, the steps, the context of the whole story. Our intentions here is to give you as many flavors as possible from the ceremony. So we began with the pineapple first, which was first pickled, then cooked on the grill, has a cream of rice in the center. We then add a small spoon of paisam, which is the milky dessert, gives all the sweet milky flavors. We glaze the pineapple with mango curry. Then we add a layer of black lime pickle. We also add in few drops of banana vinegar. The tiny almonds are from India called chironji, gives all the nutty flavors. The ice cream on the top is made from the second press of the coconut, so it's light and delicate. The stone which we shaved on the ice cream is made out of spices. Even the flower which we've put on the top is a mellow blossom, which is sour and pungent. The poppadom is there to give you texture and all the savory flavors. And then the broth is served on the side, which is made out of the water of tomatoes, and we use southern spices. So when I recommend my guests, I always recommend them to cut the pineapple and ice cream into 4 pieces. Then with every bite of it, you take, of the poppadom, you take a sip of the broth. The intention is to get the key flavors from the ceremony and do it the way it is done in the restaurant, but it is not the exact ceremony. That's the thing. It's, we're not taking, we're not insulting it. We are only going to embrace it because this leads our guests to make them understand more about the ceremony. They go back and they'll want to know more about it. We always leave them with questions than the answers. It's up for them to decide whether they want to explore or they don't want to explore, but my intention is to bring them as closer to my country, closer to the heritage of my country, and closer to the flavors of my country. But thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with us.
Thank you, Chef Himanshu. I mean, just tasting that is a burst of flavors. The coconut, the rice, the pineapple, the curry, you can taste it all, one ingredient at a time. That was amazing. Thank you so much. For our next presentation, for those who don't speak Spanish, if you don't have a headphone, please put your hands up. For those who do, please put your headphones on, tune in to channel 2, and please don't forget to return your headphones once we're done with this presentation. Next is a chef coming from Spain, also known as the Chef of the Sea, which comes from his focus on marine products throughout his career. Amazing milestones throughout his career include the discovery of algae for making stock, creation of the first saline cheese and 100% maritime Iberian cold cuts, and the elevation of previously discarded fish to haute cuisine. Presenting the sea from another perspective, a big round of applause for Chef Angel Leon.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes a todos. Sorry if my English is a tragedy, sorry. I'm explaining in español. Os cuento un poco, una historia corta. Tengo un restaurante que se llama A Poniente, en el sur de España, en el sur del sur del sur de España. Enfrente tenemos África, Marruecos, y si os decimos que somos más África que Europa.
We are more Africa than Europe.
A Poniente es un restaurante.
We could say that A Poniente is a restaurant I fell in love with. It's an abandoned place. It's just a place that has been there for almost 2 centuries. We have transformed this place little by little in what is now A Poniente restaurant. My story starts when I was short, when I was small, young, very young. We started to go to the sea. And when I decided to become a chef, at that time, there were many changes happening there. All that you can see there are the changes that we have done to the restaurant, to the area through the years. It was an isolated place, but it was very important from the biological point of view. But it was very important from natural point of view. But we have give it to it the place that deserves. This obsession comes from when we were very young. I fell in love with the sea. If I need to choose between being a chef or of the sea, I would choose the sea. I could have been a biologist, a fisherman, but I decided to be a chef in order to speak about the sea on a different way. 15 years ago, we discovered this plankton. 60% of oxygen on the earth is produced by plankton. So we decided to create a sea plankton farm, so where we can add the purest flavor of the sea is tasted to gambas, to scramps, to prawns. This farm was the first farm was created to feed human beings. This one has 70% more omega-3 than olive oil. All the pharma companies were going against our idea of feeding ourselves from plankton. So we took this plankton and we put it on a farm, and this only needs loose light and water. This becomes very like a milestone, very important for us when we opened this restaurant. And this kind of plankton was converted into a dust, so you can use this product can last for a long time. When we started in our kitchen, we thought that the plankton was green and there was only one kind of plankton, but we have discovered there are 9 kinds of plankton, which is one is called rose, one is called orange, that sounds to tastes to anchovies. We have made different dishes through the years with these different tastes of plankton. Through all the fish that I got with my father, we made a study of it, and we noticed that only 5 or 6 species of this fish got its way to the restaurants. And now that we have recollected more than 90 million tons, and in the wild, in the sea, we have collected around 90 million of tons. So that means that we're collecting more fish from the sea than from the rivers. And this is making us think about the way and the path for nature. And if we start thinking about what is going on, in the end we get fish that nobody wants, that has no name, and we turn into flour. And then from flour, we turn this flour into chicken. And then in this 21st century, we have chicken that eats fish. So we ourselves used to take a full advantage of this fish that nobody wanted. What we wanted to tell, the story we wanted to talk about 16 years ago, we wanted to talk about sustainability, which was not very common in Spain. So we tried to do reasoning. If we take things from the sea and we transform them into things that the human being will like to have, so we were doing something good. So we talk about this fish, this animal that was catch in our region. We started to use this fish that nobody wanted to use but starting from this fish, we started to create pork sausages, all the products that you can now get from pork. We were able to get these products from this fish that nobody wanted. So this was something that nobody understood 16 years ago, but nowadays I can see that there are many restaurants now that they are producing these cold meats, the sausages from fish instead of pork. So, for example, we have we take the fish skin, we convert it into calio, which is something very typical that you do in Spain, that you take it from pork. But we can also make sea bacon that we can use to cook porchetta. On the same way, we used to make dishes. For example, when we talk about animals we used to get a fish and we used to cut it as we were going to use the same cuts that you do lamb cuts. Also, we have many different dishes that are normally made with animals on land. We used to prepare them with from fish, and we gave them a different texture. So these fisher people are the ones who collect this fish. And from them, I learned one of the techniques more important I learned in this year. They catch these salad plants, they burn them, they create a kind of carbon. And when you think that when the heart is working, pumping inside the fish, all this goes all over the fish. So what they do is they get the live fish and they get salt through the gills. And I have noticed that this is the most spectacular way in which you cook fish. Some people might think that we have discovered a different technique, but I'll tell you something. If you get live fish and you get salt through its gills, this salt goes through all his body. This is the same. We do the same thing with the shrimps, and then we can introduce to the shrimp whatever taste we want to give it to in the kitchen. In our restaurant, we have done a lot of experiments with salt. One of the most well-known techniques in our restaurant, Aponiente, is that we get a jar of water and we convert it into salt. This is a technique that was developed 7 years ago. We didn't do this because we wanted to invent a technique, but because where we live, there's a lot of salty sources, salt mines. Before there used to be many salt mines in my area, but nowadays we have only 2. Maybe some other thing that you have noticed, the sea light, the light in the sea, something that was discovered when I used to go out for fishing. I used to see these little crabs. I used to see these little crabs that will produce light. This called my attention. There was a time in our restaurant, which is close to the sea, where we used to switch off all the lights, and then the guests will notice these lights coming from the crabs. It was now this is happening in many places nowadays all over the world. But this was very beautiful when we discovered this technique. So now we do ice oyster or dry. With work a dry seaweed, you have to realize that I'm coming from a place which is isolated, and then we have to take this to all over the world. In this area, we use everything from a fish. And where does this end? It ends on the desserts that we use in our restaurant. We use the skin, for example, using this technique. We use the skin fish. We put it with the species and cinnamon. We use as a very slow burn, but we burn them very slowly. We also use butter, so it could become like a cookie. Then we can get in. We can use the scales that nobody wants. we put them in oil, and then we keep on increasing the oil level, and then it becomes a very delicious something, canapés. Or for example, recently we did a kind of dessert. We use the we make a dessert which is with flakes and egg. And we come up with a very delicious product that is very important for our kitchen. For example, we use this product that in Spain nobody wants. We cook this a very slow burn, a slow fire, and after that we dry it in an oven. And after that we get kind of a miracle, which is a kind of fried corn, and which is very, very cracking. We use also fish to create different flavors and dishes in our kitchen. For example, we get the grease, we mix grease and chocolate to make a dessert. For example, we replace the grease that comes from the traditional grease. We replace it with omega-3 grease from fish. And we use these products for different dishes that you can taste on our restaurant, Aponiente. We have discovered a cereal, the first cereal that was discovered in the sea. It's a plant that is located 4 or 5 meters deep in the sea that produces a grain, a very beautiful grain that looks like kind of something hybrid between rice and quinoa. We have tried to take this plant in order to we have been able to produce like a hectare of this. So in a world where you can have only 1% of sweet water, you being able to collect these plants in the sea is very important for us. Maybe we're going ahead on time. Maybe after 20 years, the human being will have to look at the sea with hunger. And this cereal product is something that we're working on little by little. We're proving scientifically that this could become a reality. So in order to have a marine cereal. This is what you see here is the project of marine cereal, where we plant different plants from different parts of Spain. We have even discovered marine soy. We have discovered soy in the sea, which is a marine soy, which is a wonderful project that was not discovered in Spain but in Venezuela. This plant lives at the beach. Produces these beans. This plant is called Navalia rosal. It has more proteins than soy. It's a very beautiful plant because takes water from the sea, but it needs the pollination from the bees in order to develop. So the many things that we have done, we have tried everything with the soy in our kitchen, and nowadays we are producing different products related to we're making soy milk, tofu, all this through fermentation. But we're doing this with food coming from the sea. I would like to tell you that I am still as excited as when I started at Aponiente. I think that we still have a lot to discover from the sea. We have discovered beautiful things from the sea. I think that at the end we have managed to get our restaurant Aponiente to become a point of reference for food coming from the sea. It has been difficult through the years because people has not understood us, especially on the first years, because people wouldn't understand why a restaurant will cook something that a human being wouldn't like to have. So when we started at Poniente, we were 8 people, but nowadays we are almost 80 people working in a restaurant for 30 customers. We're almost 20 people are scientists, biologists, which are dedicated to research for new products for human beings. So if you ask what do you prefer to do, is we want to new techniques or to come up with new products. We're going to keep on working on getting new products in a world which is it's called Earth, but it's not the proper name. I think that this should be called a water planet. So in order to, okay, now to end, I would like to show you. This is a heart that if you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the video. Yeah, there you have. It's a live heart. A live heart. It's a live heart. From nowadays in Spain, the chefs are somehow famous because we have high egos. They know this profession creates a lot of ego in yourself, but when you have tragedies as the one that took recently in Spain, the master chefs, the kitchen people have come out to help people in Valencia. They have come out to help the people there. And at the end of anything, you will always have the heart of the chefs. In the end, the food is always a commitment. And from here, I want to thank all the chefs, Spanish chefs, that have come out to the streets to help the people in Valencia. I would like to thank all of you for this. Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chef Angel. That was one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. It was a very insightful world about the abundance of under the sea. I love that. Wow, next up is a performance of the Katai show done by Jamal, who is the cutter master, accompanied by Joanne, the marketing and sales director of Balfago Group. Let's watch a little something that they prepared for us.
If you have a dream that haunts you and urges you out of bed, get out there and follow it. Sacrifice dry land. To capture what is never still, some might say you must forfeit everything you know and expect the unexpected. The ultimate tuna, the greatest delicacy salted away by the sea. We set out to find you, and it is as if we are searching for ourselves. Our heart beats and burns with the strength of 5 generations. An ancestry of dreamers that you are part of. If you are one of those who risk it all for a dream, there are few who will understand you better than us. If you wish to dazzle the gourmand, this is your chance. effort will be forgotten, and the sacrifice will merit the price. Your dreams will awaken from their slumber, very real and realized. Do it with passion, or you will never do it. Do it until your passion becomes flame. And once you are there, don't let go, and keep dreaming. We will be by your side.
Valvego.
A round of applause for Jamal and Joanne.
Hello.
Hi, Jamal. How are you?
And a big applause for the tuna. It's coming.
So until the tuna arrives, can you tell us a bit about the Cat's Eye Show?
Yes. First of all, it's very important to understand what we do and what we are. Valvego is the 5th generation of fishermen of bluefin tuna. Okay. But first of all, I want to thank to the Best Chefs Awards for the invitation and to remember as Angel. It's a pleasure always to learn from you about the fish, but to remember all the people from Valencia, because we are very close. We are from 1 hour and a half by car, and it was a tragedy. We have a lot of friends and family there, and it was hard times now in Spain, and I want to remember all the people from Valencia, first of all. About Valvego, not easy now to talk. About Valvego, we are the 5th generation of fishermen of bluefin tuna. We are very close from Barcelona, 1 hour, more or less. And we started the fishery in the 19th century. We have a lot of knowledge about this species, this fish. We only fish this tuna. It's the only fish that we work, okay? And now we bet in this fishery and we transformed the fishery because before the fishery was from April to September, and now we transform all the activity to have tuna in fresh all year round.
Amazing. Wow. Oh, my God. How many kilos is that?
369.
Woo. All right.
Not easy to cut this tuna. Our average is 250. Wow. But to come here to the Best Chefs Awards, we want to bring a very good
It's a
tuna.
big privilege, actually, that's for sure.
And for the storm, last week, we didn't go to fish, and this tuna has 8 days. It's from not this Sunday, the other one. 8 days in fresh.
Okay, wow. All right, I guess I'm just going to leave you to it and enjoy. Wow, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's start. As I said, 369 kilos, more than 3 meters. You can see. With me is Jamal, the Kaitai master, and our sushi man. We will have to ask to show all the parts that we use in the bluefin tuna. About Valvego, as I said, we are the 5th generation of bluefin tuna, and we transform this fishery. Our technique is the purseine. Okay, we fish the tuna alive, and then we put it in our facilities and in the aquaculture infrastructure we have in 4 kilometers from the coast in La Mella de Mar. That is a small village in Tarragona that we have a strong tradition of fishery. The activity, first of all, I want to show the different type of tunas we have. Okay, because the first thing is to understand the different type of tunas, okay, to talk about this. The first one is the Tunus de la Lunga, okay, it's in the Atlantic and Pacific and Indian Oceans, and we can find it too in the Mediterranean Sea. The second one, Tunus albacares, yellowfin, okay, we can find in tropical and subtropical waters, and it's found in all the major oceans, Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian. The third Tunus, because we are talking about Tunus is Tunus atlanticus. It's the blackfin tuna. Western Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and the Central and South America. Okay, yeah. Now I want to explain. Thank you. Tunus McCoy, southern bluefin tuna, is a kind of, is very similar of this tuna. We can find this in the South Atlantic, Indian Ocean, and South Pacific. The Tunus obesus, the big eye, typical to find in Atlantic and Pacific and Indian Oceans. The Tunus orientalis, very known because it's in Japan and in the West Coast in the North America, United States and Mexico. And then the other, can you change, please, from there? No. The last one, can you change? OK. The Tunus-Stone Gulf, from here, Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, the Indian Ocean, and the South China Sea. And then this one, the bluefin tuna. About the bluefin tuna Tunus tinus, there are two. OK? One is in the north of the hemispheric, close to Norway. This is where we fish. And the other one is in the south hemisphere, close to Argentina. OK? The main difference is the fat infiltration. OK? When we fish it on May in Spain, very close to Balearic Island, what we try to do is to recover the level of fat that they lose in the migration. They come to the north of the Atlantic Ocean, to the Mediterranean Sea for the reproduction. OK? Then we fed them only with bluefish. We have our formula that we find, and we try to recover this level of fat. Because in the fat is the flavor. OK? That's very important for us. After, when we open the loin, we can see the different colors we have. They are coming the chutoro, and that's very important of the bluefin tuna. And that's why in Japan they want this bluefin tuna, because the level of fat is very important. This tuna can swim at 70 kilometers an hour. It's an athlete. It never rests. It's always swimming. This tuna is 369. It can weigh up to 700 kilos. OK? Last year, we fished 684 kilos. It's a pelagic fish. OK? And as I said, the key of the flavor is the fat infiltration. When we start this company, we bet this fishery, we start this fishery of the purseine, and we keep it alive in our facilities in the 90s and beginning of the 2000. In 2004, 5, 6, and 7, we sell all the production to Japan in super frozen. Okay? After that, we create a new project, a new strategy to be in fresh in the different countries. Now, we are in 45 countries selling to the best restaurants because of the consistency of the level of fat, fresh all year around, same price all the year. For example, if the tuna doesn't have a good level of fat or yake, it's not Balfego brand. OK? Where is Eric? OK. Now we are open the abrasi. After that, we will see the head. OK? Not easy to cut this tuna. It's very difficult. Maybe we need more time. Before, one of the innovations we do was this. As you know, in the 2007, it put some quota to fish the bluefin tuna. Now the bluefin tuna, this bluefin tuna is not in the red list anymore. In 2007, we put this. Okay, you have all the information about this tuna. This is for chefs and consumers. Here is the weight, the length, the fat content, the healthy certificates, the microbiological certificates, all the information about the tuna. And this is for the chefs and for the consumers, because it's very important. The other innovation was the kizime. You know the technique. You are chefs. You know better than me the technique. But we have 70 divers in our company going every day to our facilities. You send an order on Monday, and you have the tuna maybe here in Dubai in Wednesday, in fresh. Okay? What we do is one shot in the head. Okay? We make 2 incisions here to bleed them up. Okay? And that's very important for the flavor. Then we put the tuna in our boats, and in 12 seconds, it's done. We put a flexibly wire in the medullary canal, and then the visualization is very quickly. We don't have anisakis in our tuna. We cannot say that it's free of anisakis because it's wild tuna, but we have a database that we don't have never anisakis in our tuna. The ikijime, this is the collarbone, okay, very small. Here, put it there, and if you can film. Okay, you have different meats here, the kami and the otoro, okay? This is the kamatoro, very known in Japan, but for example, in Europe, we are put it in the grill. Amazing, this part. Okay, Marcos, déjalo ya, apóyalo. As I said, the ikijime extends the shelf life of the tuna, reduce the fish suffering, very important too, and the quality and the texture and the flavor is better. Now, this is the iconic part of the bluefin tuna for the fat content, is the belly, the otoro. It's only the 10% of the whole tuna. Now the chefs, they want a lot of toro, but some years ago, in the Japanese cuisine is more typical, but now a lot of chefs are using the belly, the toro, and there is more culture now about the tuna around the world. Okay, you can see the level of fat. We know the level of fat exactly is 15%, okay? One day, some clients of us says, too much fatty, I want more fat, we put a number, okay? Now we know, for example, that in US, they want a lot of fat. In Dubai, too. But for example, in Europe, we want less fatty. In China, fatty. In Korea, not fat. And now we know better what we want our clients. When we fish it on May, we start selling this tuna in September to recover the level of fat. It's like the wine, okay? It's very important. If not, when we are talking about the bluefin tuna, in Spanish is atún rojo, red tuna. The tuna is pink, not red. It has the optimal level of fat. This one is the back loin, is the white loin, because it's very close from the otoro, more fatty than the other. For example, the Japanese cuisine, they want this part a lot. In Europe, it's more difficult to us to try to explain this part because it's more fatty than the other loin, the black loin. As I said, we are in 45 countries all year around, and we do the piece-by-piece the selection, yake and the level of fat. And then the ikijime is one of our secrets. The feeding, and then the morphology. Today we will see more than 20 parts of the tuna, okay? Loin, belly, you see the collarbone. Here, for example, if you can... ¿Puedes girar esto? Un segundo. Para enseñar el oso buco. For example, here we can see, I don't know if the cameras can show this part, is the oso buco. Okay? Perfect for the grill, too. Here, we cut a piece of the tail to analyze everything. All the tunas has an ID, and you can see here his ID. The collarbone, for example, you can use it in grill, hosper, terrine, stick of the sea, we said. And I recommend a lot the grill for the collarbone, not only in raw. The belly, not only for sushi, carpaccio, smoke, grill, cook. Very tender. ¿Tienes? I need an applause now, eh? The white line, the back line, here, ¿cuántos kilos puede pesar este? 45 kilos, more or less. Okay? With the line, you can use it for raw, for sure. Sashimi, smoke, marinated, grill. Is the more common part of the bluefin. Here you have the blue line. Here, normally we clean this, but here is very healthy part, very difficult to work, very strong, like meat. When we fish it, the regulation says that you can fish 30 kilos up, okay? We try to fish an adults, 150 kilos more or less, because that it means that they have 10, 12 years more or less. We have some quota to fish the tuna, and we try to fish it with the less tunas as we can. That's very important. It's the same kilos, but less pieces. Very important to be sustainable. We have 2 certifications, B Corp. ISO Estrella Galicia is a good partner for us. B Corp too. The B Corp movement is very important. We transform the company. We are not talking about environmental sustainability. We are talking about social sustainability, and we transform our company. Now, for example, we send in all Europe by truck, not by plane, and it's very important to try to do the things well, because we are only dedicated of this fishery, the bluefin. Okay, this one is 60 kilos more or less. Our average, as I said, is 230 kilos. Applause, people. It's not easy. This one, not easy. 60 kilos of line. After the show, you can see, because we have the coffee break, right? We can see all the parts here, okay? Then, vamos a la cabeza. Vamos a la carrillera, ¿vale? We're going now to the cheek, okay? We have only 2 for every tuna. Very special in the grill, low temperature, 2, glazed, steel. We have a lot of recipes with this part of the tuna, very known and very used in Spain. It's like the beef cheek. You can use it in the same techniques. More elegant. You have here the cheek. Eric, ¿puedes cortar un trozo de lomo para enseñarle a Cami el chutoro? ¿Ah, está cortado? Sí, de aquí. Sí. Vamos al morrillo, Jamal. The head meat. You can see here the bullet here. You can see. Okay? Very important for the stress. The harvest is very important for the quality. Some chefs are using the skin to the head meat it has a similar fat content from the belly, but is more firm. You can use it in fry it, confit. I recommend confit. It's very tasty. Okay, ¿dónde vas ahora? Okay. The chin. In Spain, we said cococha from here, this part. Okay. This part is gelatin. It has a bone in the middle. Enséñalo, levántalo. The chin. You have a bone in the middle, but it's very, very tender, this part, from here. And you have two lines. La cococha del atún. ¿Vas al secreto? Secreto primero, si puedes. We say the secret is not the secret, is because it's very difficult to find this part of the tuna. It's the palate, the first palate of the tuna. It's very strong, okay? We can do a carpaccio. You can put it in the nigiris, for example, but you have to cook it better because it's very, very, very strong. I think the secreto and the blue line are the more strongest part of the tuna. In carpaccio is amazing, this part. It's 200 grams of every tuna. We say that these parts are premium parts because we have a few. This part is the ear. It's not the ear, because when we find some parts, we have to put a name. It's not easy for us because every time we're trying to find the best name. Eso es como manitas de cerdo. I don't know, the feed pork, okay? It's similar, quite similar. Vale. ¿Me sacas armónica ahora? We have a restaurant in Barcelona that we only cook bluefin tuna, for sure. We have more than 40 dishes there, and you can taste all the parts of the tuna. And we have a lot of recipes, because when we start selling in Japan, we learn from the Japanese people. But now, I think all the cultures we are using the tuna, you can see in all the restaurants in Dubai, for example, bluefin tuna. And it's very common in raw, especially. But I think if you cook the tuna, you have a lot of possibilities to use it in the different cuisines in the world. For example, this part, ven, no, ponlo aquí. We don't use this part. Chefs, you're here. What we can do with this? Because now we are selling 22 parts of the tuna, the 92% of the tuna. And we are trying to improve to use the 100%. For example, from the head and from the bones, we are doing now a soups like ramen and miso. But I think we can use these parts. We can find a solution. The blue line, for example, is working from Luis Andoni. Used it some years ago. They create a dish. The hair of the tuna is not here because we have in the sea. But, for example, Diego Guerrero is doing a dish with the hair. ¿El ojo? ¿La armónica la has sacado ya? OK. ¿Puedes enseñarla, porfa, que me despisté? This part, for example, is brand new. 3 years ago. We said harmonica for the harmonic. OK? In the grill is amazing. Amazing. It's like meat. And you have here, you can separate the meat from here. Very special part. OK. The eye. The eye is not common, for example. In the Asian cuisine, it's more common, but in the European cuisine, it's not common, the eye. Okay, you use this part, ¿eh? Giro. Del todo. Al revés. Pone así. This. Okay. Normally, when we do a Kaitai show, we can taste the bone meat. Now we are a lot of people. If you come after with a coffee here to try this part, you're invited for sure. Okay. For example, in our restaurant in Tunateca, we did an octopus from this part, a false octopus from this part. The same texture. De la cabeza tenemos todo ya. Vale. Corta una vértebra y enseñamos la médula. Sí, porfa. Now we're using this part too as strips. Okay? Very interesting too. And the bone marrow. Ferran Adrià used it in 2003, and it was like an oyster, more elegant, subtle. You can taste it if you want after the show. A lot of people, they don't want to taste it because it's not, but it's very, very tasty. As you can see, for example, these parts, we don't use these parts yet, okay? But now is our goal. We have to do it. As I said, bone marrow, the ear, the trips, too. We are using the trips. One thing is very important that what happened in Spain a lot. ¿Has cortado un trozo de lomo? Vale. Sí. A microphone, please. Marcos and Eric are our sushi man in Madrid and Barcelona. Eric, can you explain how we should cut the tuna, how we do the Japanese people? Deixa aquí, explica-ho una mica.
So in Japanese style, what we want to do is to separate what would be akami at the top part and chutoro. It would be the bottom part.
Put it here because in the camera you can see the akami but not the chutoro. If you can put here. Pots posar-lo aquí?
Està tapant la canyina. Sí.
Sí, perquè es vegi. Aquí damunt, si vols. Sí. Okay.
So as I was saying, here we have two different parts from the tuna. You can see the difference of the color. We have akami at the top part, and then we have chutoro in the bottom. The difference of color is because of the fat. We can see how it's more pinky at the bottom, and as it reaches the top, it goes from pink to red. The most red part, it's also the leanest. So this cut allows us to use these two different parts for different things, because in kitchen, if you have more fat, you will use the fattiest part for one thing, and then you will use the leanest part for another thing. You can also mix it, but in Japanese style, we want to use chutoro for one thing and akami for the other. We also have here what we call wakaremi in Japanese. This is like 3% of the tuna, 1% of the tuna. I don't know how much it is, but it's like the most precious.
Precious.
Thank you. The most precious part of the chutoro in Japan. And it has the fat, a bit of the Wagyu style, as we can see in the otoro. Not as much as in the otoro, but that's why it's so precious.
Okay, and this tuna, for example, Eric has 8 days. The color is perfect.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We are always talking about you have to use the tuna after 72 hours. Why? Explain why.
Because when we sacrifice the tuna, you can see the rigor mortis in the tuna. That means that it's like red, like almost neon red, and it's really hard. Like you can't chew it, actually. So you have to let it rest. You have to let the rigor mortis go away, and then you can start to see the difference of the color. The first thing you will see is the pink appearing at the bottom part. And then you will see how the red turns a little bit more dark. That's when you want to eat the tuna, not as fresh as we think should be.
It's very important. For example, in Spain, they want the warm fish. They said the warm fish, and it's better to wait some days.
Yeah.
The umami appears in 5-6 days.
Exactly.
For example, in Spain, Japanese chef Hideki in Koshunka puts the whole tuna in a fridge, 0.4 degrees, 1 month, and the color is perfect. They cut only the whole line for use it 1 week, and the other line every week. The color is perfect. The flavor is very, very elegant in the mouth. Okay, as I said, we have a restaurant. Only if you want to share some information, we have more than 1,000 recipes about the tuna. We have all the information. We are very glad to share with you. We have an activity close to our facilities to swim, to know how we feed them, how we use the tuna, all the project we have. We will be very glad to invite you in our facilities. I think it's time, no? We don't have more time. Thank you, the Best Chefs Awards, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for you. A pleasure to be here with the best chefs in the world, the Best Chefs Awards. And if you want to taste the tuna, we have the corner there. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Jamal and the team. Oh my God, that's the first time in my life I see a tuna being shredded like that. That was a lot of effort. Thank you so much, really. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 15 minutes. Please enjoy your coffee break, go around, try around everything, and we'll see you in a bit. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. Please remember our link to our live stream and our social media mentions on Instagram and Facebook at the Best Chef Awards and at Food Meets Science. Next on stage is the perfect combination of a culinary mind plus an academic mind. Our first guest is actually a dear friend of mine. She fell in love with Bahraini dishes when she was 6 years old, going with her father to local markets as he taught her the secrets of cooking and ingredients. Our second guest is an academic mind by day and medieval Arab cooking by night, a book author, a food enthusiast, and simply a brilliant mind. Presenting Murri Unveiled, How Did a Fermented Condiment Shape the Flavor of Pre-Modern Arabic Cuisine? Please welcome on stage Chef Tala Bashmi and Professor Daniel Newman.
We clap for ourselves. Let's go. Yeah, that's me.
Right.
Okay, so I think it's evening at this point, so. First of all, good evening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here to share the stage with Professor Daniel Newman, who we met, what was it, about 2 years ago? 2 years ago, we actually did an event together. So we'll let you know, first of all, how these two people from two very different worlds met and came to be. Shall we go next?
Next slide, please.
Next. Okay, so, pause. Professor Daniel Newman and I, we met through Instagram.
Of course, as one does.
As one does, you know. And I saw what he was doing, and it was really interesting to me because I was recently reading about medieval Arabic dishes and trying to re-understand our culture and our heritage. And I found the professor who was studying something that was almost lost and forgotten. That's when he caught my eye and I dropped him a message. Maybe you can tell the story, the rest of the story.
Yes, indeed, that's what happened. And I was particularly glad to get that message from Chef Tala because of the way in which she reinvents Arab cuisine. And if you go to a restaurant, even if you're familiar with the dishes, with the names, or you think you're familiar with them, she puts her own highly creative and very unusual twist on it. And so the combination of using medieval recipes, but with a modern twist by somebody who is steeped in the Arab tradition was simply irresistible. And one of the terms I'd like to use is that I'm just a humble recreator, whereas somebody like Chef Tala, of course, is a creator. So her creations are trans-creations of medieval dishes with a modern twist, but at the same time respectful of the traditions, cultural and culinary, of the region.
So Professor and I think it was 1 year ago that we came together and we came to create a tasting menu for one night based on the Sultan's feast. We chose specific dishes, and I challenged myself to actually use the ingredients that were only available during that time. So if there wasn't an ingredient, for example, Professor, you told me tomatoes, potatoes.
Yes, tomatoes, chilies, potatoes, of course, were not available at the time.
So for me to challenge myself to create this menu based on sharing the history and selecting the recipes together with Professor, I thought it would be too easy if I used every ingredient available at the time. We have to do it as they did, but with our modern knowledge of how to recreate dishes with different techniques. So we want to show you a quick little video, a snippet of the event that we did together. So a little bit about that menu, which I loved working with. I took the traditional recipes. Most of these recipes were about, 1 to 3 sentences. And it's what you decipher from that recipe and how you interpret it. So I think at the end of the day, Professor, you're a little bit surprised about what came out in front of you?
Yes, indeed, absolutely. It was a similar experience. I knew the recipes, or I thought I did, but what came before me was had completely transmogrified into something new, yet at the same time I recognized the flavors, and we saw some of them here. So it was this wonderful combination of the old and the modern coming together and bringing the former and present culture together, which I think is what cooking is all about.
So I think that's a little bit about us and how we met and how we came to be and how we came to be here on stage. But we're here for the main topic of the night. So I believe people are selecting ingredients. For us, when we were thinking about what should we choose, what makes sense, what is local, what is native, we went back in time, as we do, and what we selected is something called murri. I don't know if you have ever heard of it. Hands up, anybody? Murri? Thought so. Okay. So, Professor, let's get into it. Let's talk about what is murri?
What is murri? Well, the slide talks about the Arab garum. I'm sure that most people here know garum slightly. Just briefly, it was, of course, salted and fermented fish that was left out for 2 to 3 months. It was often mixed with wine or must, so grape juice, as well as, of course, herbs and spices. And in the preparation, it was frequently shaken to get the juices going, to get the fermentation going. And then a crucial element in garum was actually the straining, because the liquid was a very liquid substance. Ironically, we don't really have that many descriptions of the texture of the liquid. Archaeological finds have given us a few clues, but that's about it. Now, garum was in fact a continuation or a descendant, depending on your viewpoint, of the Greek garrus. Now, the Greeks only had garrus as the name. The Romans had several names, including liquamen and muria. Now, both of these originally refer to slightly different substances, but in practice were used interchangeably to refer to what we now know as garum. And of course, it's very tempting to think of this muria as the origin of the substance we're talking about today, murri. In fact, my own theory is that the Roman and Greek sources actually have their origins, their roots in this part of the world. In fact, we have to go back to ancient Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, today, of course, mostly Iraq, where the ancient Babylonians had a sauce they called shikku. And shikku was essentially a sauce made with fish, shellfish, and grasshoppers. Yummy. And we'll have occasion to revive some of that sauce actually later on. Now, turning to the Arab murri, the word itself, as I said, has striking resemblances to muria, but in fact goes back to the Akkadian word murru, which means a bitter taste. And today, in Arabic, of course, the word mur still means bitter. Yeah. So we've now established that the origin is not with the Romans. They did a lot of good things, but they also took stuff from other peoples. And so we have this sauce, which was made not with fish, generally speaking, but with a cereal, predominantly barley. And in the classical version, let's take one from the 11th century, you start off with kneading flour, wheat or barley, and then that is shaped into cakes, discs, which are wrapped in fig leaves and then left to rot. This particular substance was often referred to as foudage or boudage. Then afterwards, we have the addition of flour, barley flour, and then we also have the cakes that are being baked. Then we add salt, and then it's left outside for about 40 days in the hot summer sun. Now, there are various manipulations. Suffice it to say that it is stirred twice daily, it's left out in the sun, brought back in, kneaded again, all the while making sure that everything starts to bubble away and ferment, so that finally, after straining, multiple times actually, we're left with murri. And
I remember reading the recipe, and when you sent me that recipe, it made absolutely no sense. No sense. I'm like, how is this going to taste? What do you mean burning this, fermenting for 3 months, 3 weeks, whatever your temperature is or the humidity is? It's actually something that has been brought back into kitchens today. We all know about fermentation and how that is taking a major role and coming back in a lot of restaurants. So what we're doing here is not only talking about the ancient and the medieval, but also the connection between how that's coming back to life today, how it's being used in modern day restaurants and recipes. And I think being introduced to this murri or garum, not only does it have a connection with the Gulf region, where we have something very similar to that. It's called mahyawa. Any Khalijis here? Anybody know mahyawa? Somebody came to dinner yesterday. You know mahyawa. 2 people, 2 whole people. Oh,
I'm still waiting to taste it. You promised to bring me some.
I'm sorry, man. He's still pissed off. So, when I read the recipe and I tasted the flavor for the first time, the fish garum really reminded me of mahiawa. And for those who don't know what it is, regionally, you can say it's debatable, the origins. Some say from the Portuguese, some say from the Iranis, and then came to the Gulf. It's made with dried anchovies, and it's also nigella seeds, cumin seeds, salt, and water. You put it in a bottle, and you leave that in the sun for about, again, 3 weeks. So I'm like, the method is the same. The method is the same, except because we're from an island, we use what we have. And I think that's the connection that you said back in the day in medieval times. They have to use what they have.
Yes, they followed the season. It was a very, to use a modern word, a very sustainable cuisine. Yeah. Nothing was left to chance and nothing was left behind because, of course, there was a scarcity. And now, the classical version that I've just described, or bits of it I've summarized, would take about 68 days in total. Other variants could take up to twice that number of days. Now, of course, there were variants that were emerging at various points. And so, for instance, there was a murri that was based on must. So some link with the Roman garum. And then I put here the fish murri. Now, the fish murri is an interesting one because there, of course, you might say, well, why are you talking about a difference between garum and murri if there is a fish murri? Well, for several reasons. One, the most important one, is that the recipe for the fish murri is very, very different from the garum. So the fish murri, which is in fact preserved in only one recipe collection, is made with quince, with onion, and various other substances. And the other interesting bit is that why do we only have a recipe for fish murri in the recipe collection from Muslim Spain, the West? Now, jumping to conclusions, you might say, well, that's obvious, because the Iberian Peninsula was a center for the garum trade, actually garum production. So obvious, it's the Romans again. Well, I would beg to differ, because actually we have evidence from the 9th century where murri is in fact also a fish-based condiment and sauce. It was both a condiment and sauce, and sometimes when it was used as a condiment, it even appeared with fried eggs, olives, and so on.
I think the reason why we chose this ingredient and what makes it really important is it was so predominantly used in the Arab cuisine over hundreds and hundreds of years, but it's an ingredient that is no longer seen in any recipe. So that caught our attention. So I think we're going to talk next. How do we make this murri? I'm going to eventually do a demo. And for the brave ones, we have tasters.
Indeed. So, next slide, please. So here we have an example. So one is a 15th century Egyptian cookbook, and the other is a 13th century Andalusian cookbook. And so what does this prove? This proves the popularity of murri, which traveled across the Arabic-speaking world. And in the middle, you have actually an extract from the 15th century cookbook. And in the middle, those who can read Arabic will see that there is a recipe for a mint murri. Next slide, please. And so this is the translation, my translation, so feel free to criticize. I'm sure people are already comparing this. Absolutely. If we could see the video, so here is my humble attempt at recreating this mint murri. Okay, so here, of course, you can see that this is not 68 days worth of work. And one of the principal variants that emerged very, very early on was, of course, shortened preparations for murri, whilst, however, retaining all the essential features and, most importantly, the essential flavors.
So I think...
Let's move on to the next slide, please. And then we come to this one, which is, and Chef has already hinted at it. So how did this fermented condiment shape the flavor of pre-modern Arab cuisine? There's two elements here that I'd briefly like to talk about. One is, well, how did that happen? Simply by the frequency with which murri was used in savory recipes. It was used only in savory, not in sweet recipes. For obvious reasons, those who will have a taste will understand, I think, Chef, why that is.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
And the second element that's worth mentioning, of course, is what happened to murri? How come that nobody knows murri anymore? And this is one of the mysteries, one of the wonderful mysteries in food history, because it's a wonderful mystery because it challenges one's sleuthing ability. What happened? So the last murri recipe occurred in the 15th century, textually, that is. In Muslim Spain, once the Muslims were driven out by the Christians, murri was not retained by the Spaniards. So it disappeared. Despite the fact that in Al-Andalus, so Muslim Spain, it was extremely popular. In fact, one cookery book has about 13 different recipes for murri. So that's one thing. Then we have the, if you like, successor to the medieval Arabic culinary tradition, the Ottoman Empire. Now, here's another interesting thing. The Ottoman Empire, known, of course, also for its culinary extravagance, their inspiration initially came from the Arabs, once again, because the oldest Ottoman cookery book from the 15th century was, in fact, a translation cum adaptation of a 13th century Baghdadi cookery book. Yet, there's no murri in the Ottoman cuisine, so we can only wonder where it happened. Maybe Chef has an idea. I think personally it just took too long to make.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When he told me how to make it, I'm like, even with a kitchen of 25 chefs, 15 chefs, I wouldn't put myself through the trouble. But this is the reason why today I want to demonstrate for you how we're actually going to do the instant murri. And I think one link that we didn't maybe even bring up, and I think flavor-wise reminds me of it, is soy sauce, right?
Yes, yes. If you've never tasted murri, yes, that's true.
The closest thing to soy sauce. Now, for me, I love staying true to tradition. However, you have to always learn the foundation of food, of cuisine, or of anything to break the rules. So professor told me and shared the recipe, the original recipe, and it took me 2-3 times to do it. First 2 times, it was horrible. I was like, is this how it's supposed to taste? I had no idea. Then once I got the base down, I thought, now I can play. Now I can change some of the ingredients that you can find in there. And now we can elevate it. Not only that, but I remember telling you that here you bake your own barley bread. At the restaurant, there's a lot of times that you have bread left over.
Yeah.
Instead of tossing out the bread, I thought, why not utilize this bread?
That's what they would have done, of course.
So to use that for the recipe. Should we go to the next?
Yes, please.
I think I already discussed this, is the regional links with murri. For me, it's mehyawa. So again, you have tradition, you have the technique of how you make these dishes, and you make these certain ferments. But again, why do people not stray away from what we already know? So again, being from an island, an ingredient that's really important, or many ingredients, are salted and preserved, and they're seafood-based. So we have oysters. Bahrain, if you don't know this, they have a very rich pearl diving history. However, nobody eats the oysters. I don't know why. I feel like someone ate it one time, they got sick, and nobody ate it after that. So here I am. I'm like, we have an abundance of oysters. We have abundance of dried shrimp. Why not utilize it and go for a fish murri? So now what we're saying is take tradition, take the origins, learn from the base, and then integrate it into your local ingredients, your local dishes. And I think what would be really interesting, and I'd be curious to see and hear from any of you in the future, when you go back home, whether you're a chef or not, is you taking this recipe how are you applying it to where you're from and what's local and seasonal? So your little connections and branches that you do from where you're from. Should we go next?
And can I also add it's very important to remember that if the chefs back then, if they were alive now, they wouldn't be making exactly the same thing. They would, of course, also be experimenting. I think one of the dangers also when looking at food history, because sometimes very emotional and emotive, is that people think it's kind of preserved in aspic.
Yeah.
You know, we can't change anything because it's not authentic. Whereas, in fact, the opposite is true. You're staying absolutely true and authentic to the cultural tradition.
And I'm here to break the norm and the tradition. Take it, respect it, appreciate it, but then move forward and see how the chefs back then, what they would do today. So now I'm going to show you 2 different types of murri, how to make it. Because like I said, when I saw the recipe, I was absolutely confused. I'm going to show you the first step of the long murri, the original murri, fudaj you called it, right?
Yes.
So here we have fig leaves. Actually, a good friend of mine picked these for me from their tree here in the UAE. So I found this recipe really interesting because the way the original recipe starts is actually taking dough. So the dough is made with flour, water, and salt, barley flour. And again, you have space to grow after that. You can choose whatever flour you want. They would take the dough and wrap it in the fig leaves and put it in a glass jar. They would make enough to fill the bottom of the jar, cover up the jar, and leave it in the sun for about 3 weeks. The dough obviously will lose water. It will ferment over time. The color will get darker and darker and darker, but I don't have 3 weeks to do that. So, in the instant murri, which again you guys will be able to taste later, I'm going to show you step by step. We start here with the barley flour. Was it 2 cups flour, 2 cups salt, 1 cup water, something about like that?
It'll taste fine either way.
Here we have barley flour. You can play with any kind of flour. I've used jirish, I've used frika, I've used all the types of grains that you can find here. Mix it with the water and salt. We then bake it until it literally looks like this.
Burn to a cinder.
So anybody can do this, guys. You don't have to be a chef. I'm pretty sure everyone can burn something. After that, this is now the base of the murri. We do crush it up. We crush it up into pieces like that. And for the base of the mint murri is pine seeds or pine nuts. So again, my brain goes, do I have to stick with pine nuts? No, this time I played with pistachio. So let me go ahead and start making it for you. We're going to start with the base. All of it crushed up. And I'm going to go with pistachio. I'm winging quantities, but the recipe exists in the book, okay? We're going to go pistachio. Now all your salt is coming from the bread. Then this is fennel, chopped, sliced up fennel that we're going to top it up with.
Beautiful fennel.
I know, it smells really good, really aromatic. So since I got inspired by the mint murri, mint is really the essence. It's the soul of it. So mint leaves picked, again, guys, depends where you're from. Play around with...
I can smell it from here.
Right? I think in Latin America, when I went last year or this year to Guatemala, they have Ojo Santa, the leaf. So instead of using mint, why not use something that's closer to you and more local? Here, lime leaves go in as well. A little bit of thyme and rosemary. And we have orange and lime peeled. This all sounds really crazy right now, but trust me, it works out. So what we do next is we actually, this is your base. Murri is a liquid, it's a condiment. So we top up with water. And just like a great cooking show, we have the next batch ready. But so this normally would go into an oven at about 180 degrees for 8 to 10 hours. 8 to 10 hours in a restaurant kitchen is not possible. But in a home kitchen, I think, Professor, it was easier for you to make. While you know, you're working, you go back and forth. Because as this, you can't let it dry out. You have to keep topping it up with water as you go. So I'm teaching you the base of the murri. What I want you guys to take away from this is how are you going to take this condiment, this base, and make it your own, make it regional where you've come from? So after it's gone in the oven, a few hours later, I don't know if you guys want to zoom in on that, but there's no smell-o-vision. But the liquid starts to look like this. The smell of the burnt barley bread actually gives you a coffee aroma, almost. It's not as bitter as you think. And according to the recipe, after 8 to 10 hours, first of all, you would strain that. You taste it and you season it either with honey or date molasses to taste. And then you will end up with a liquid that looks, let's say the closest one, the original murri, is kind of like that. So here in front of you, I made 3 different versions. And I thought you always have to stay true to tradition. So one of them is a vegetarian mint murri. The second was using leftover sourdough frika bread from my restaurant with a completely different flavor profile. Different ingredients, that's where I played with the fennel. Here I went more original. Last but not least, I had to play with the fish murri concept. So I made a seafood murri. I used bonito flakes, I used dried scallops, I used kombu. I wanted to go with
But no grasshoppers?
Not this time, not this time. So I used the scallops, kombu, and dried bonito and created a seaweed much punchier, much saltier, in your face kind of thing. So now, you guys are capable and able, by the way. We would love to have someone to taste if you want. Yeah? You put your hand up, I saw you.
Yes.
Yalla, come. So, Professor, you can point him in. I like you. You're a good guy. So, we don't want you to take it as a shot, because obviously it's like super salty. Right. But I would always say start, we said, from here first, sourdough frika. So grab a cracker and just dip into one. And it goes in, sorry, Professor, levels of, from least salty to most salty and most concentrated. He doesn't have to be the only one. Somebody else? Yeah? Yeah, come. Yeah? Hayakum. So, yeah, a kid. We have like a whole bottle in the back. More of there.
Please grab a cracker.
Yeah.
A cracker.
Yeah. So I think
you go.
Everyone that's coming on stage, I think you're all from very different countries, right? So keep in mind, what is the flour? What is the grain that you have? What is the vegetable or the fruit that's in season? What is the herb? What can you...
Please no double dipping, of course.
So for me, this is a condiment that I think can be added to add not just umami and salt and depth, but you said they don't use it in a sweet way. For me, it could be used in the same way a fish sauce caramel would be used.
Oh, right.
That could go on an ice cream. You know, that's where my brain takes me. It could be added a little bit into a jus to give it much more depth. So instead of salt, you're making this condiment. I love the crowd, guys.
Yes, indeed.
Real active people.
And so if you start, we've arranged them, in fact, in ascending order of exoticness. So if you start on this side, it's one that is probably closest to the modern palate. The one in the middle here, that's the medieval one. And then the third one is hardcore medieval, in the sense it is extremely salty. However, the authors tell us that even at the time, this was a problem. And so they often added date molasses, currently known in this region, of course, as dips, or honey, or even jujube, in order to take the edge of the salty. I think you just had that last one, right?
Don't drink it, huh?
Okay.
I love everyone's enthusiasm. Honestly, I'm very impressed. So please, if you guys will take anything away from this entire session, I really hope we get to hear the versions that you will make from your countries with your ingredients and with what you do. Share them with us. Tell us how it went.
Yes.
Trust me, you're going to mess up 2, 3, 4, 5 times before you make it good. But at least this gives you a base of flavor and understanding of what it should taste like and then what you can do with it. So, Professor, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you,
Chef.
Chef.
It's been a pleasure as always. And thank you all for listening and eating and tasting. And we're here if you have any questions. Yeah?
Okay, thank you very much.
You can
thank you, Chef Tala and Professor Daniel. That was amazing. So I would like to summarize a little bit before you guys go off. So what I got from this, the base is the fermented dough. that is cooked until it looks brown. And then you got the base and the aromatics, which are the most important thing. It's very easy to basically improvise, put it all together, put it underwater, cook it. You cook it a little bit, all right? Did I get it right?
I mean,
More or less.
I really followed up.
More or less,
Okay.
more or less.
Amazing.
I hope you guys got to see and understand quickly. You have Professor here who has his Instagram, his website. You can follow his amazing books where he's actually translated these ancient texts. And Professor, high five, that was awesome.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions to Professor and Chef, I didn't get to taste this yet, but I mean, I'd love to hear some feedback. How's that like?
I think it's a good basis for a lot of...
It's a good base. What do you think you'd use it with? With fish. Amazing. Is that the first, second, or third? Okay. Yeah, thank you. So you'd like to use that with a bit of fish?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think it would go very good with fish.
Amazing. Okay, thank you.
Substitution of soy sauce or anything like that.
Okay, okay.
You know?
I love that. Thank you. Any other opinions for those who are tasting? I'd love to hear it. Does it taste like soy sauce?
It does.
Amazing. Okay. How is that like?
It's good.
Yeah. What would you use it with, Chef?
Everything really, for salt.
For salt. Would you use it like as a condiment on the side, or maybe like integrate it into the so condiment on the side rather than like cooking and both?
I'd play.
Okay,
Yeah, totally.
amazing. Wow. Oh. So, what is the favorite? Is it number 1, number 2, number 3? I think they go from mild to strong, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Seafood. Seafood is nice.
The seafood one you
Yes,
liked.
very
Amazing.
strong.
Did you hear that, Chef?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. How's that like?
Very good. The second one, maybe.
The second one?
Yes.
Okay, amazing.
Thank
Just a bit of
you.
both. Thank you. Peggy, I would love to hear your feedback.
Oh my God, here we go. No, the first one is good. It's very versatile with all the vegetables.
Okay. It's a bit, I mean, it's a mild one, right?
No, it's just like, you know, like you can do with a lot of different dressing, and it's kind of universal, can do a lot.
Amazing. Okay.
So I like that one.
Thank you. Qais and Kelvin. Oh, I love how you're doing that.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I'm waiting for your feedback before your collaboration.
We're going to use it for the We're going to make one.
Actually?
We're going to make a batch.
Oh, listen to that.
dedicated
Amazing.
to Tala and Professor
I
Daniel.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like the frika one.
The frike one.
Yeah, I like the frika one.
Frika and the seafood, for
The
sure.
frike and the seafood. Amazing.
All delicious.
I love how you're enjoying that.
I would say the seafood.
The seafood one, the third one. I love that. Amazing. Again, thank you, Chef Tala and Professor Daniel. A big round of applause, please. So our second last guest of this evening is Executive Pastry Chef of Atlantis the Royale, Christophe Devois. Chris has been in the dessert game for so long, perfecting his craft from top kitchens across all of Europe before landing in Dubai. He is all about pushing boundaries while keeping it sophisticated and true to his French roots.
So as I said, I used to work 10 years for Alain Ducasse. For me, he's the best chef in the world. Okay, my name is Christophe Devoile. I'm the executive pastry chef for Atlantis de Royal. So from my country, from France, it's quite common to be a butcher, a baker, or a pastry chef, especially if you're not so good at school. So it was my case. So around 12, 13 years old, I started making cake with my mom every Saturday to mess up a little bit the kitchen, making a pound cake, apple pie or chocolate mousse. And I want to say it was the beginning of my career. So the vision of the pastry for Atlantis de Royal is very simple. We want to teach the guest for a new sweet journey. We want to offer something a bit different with less butter, less sugar, less cream, and we want to add more marmalade, something more fruity, healthy. So we try to elevate the offering with something very new and very unique. And as well, we are working with local farmer, local producer as well. And we can create a new shape with this 3D printer, and suddenly we can create the mold, and we can create, for example, a cloud cake just for one guest.
Which is your favorite dessert?
A water drop shape. So this one will be one of the highlights of the vitrine as well in the lobby. So the cake will look like just a water drop. Blue, very nice, something a bit different, something new for the guests.
Presenting the first drop in the desert, a big round of applause for Chef Christophe Devoile.
So good evening, everyone. Happy to be here tonight with you. So tonight I will introduce you the water drop cake. So it's something very, very unique we create for Atlantis de Royal. As you know, certainly in Atlantis Dubai, so Atlantis de Palme, Atlantis de Royal, you can find the water a little bit everywhere, with the fountain, with the aquarium, and that's why I want to create something it look like a water drop. And as well in Atlantis de Royal, at the entrance, you have a huge sculpture representing the first drop in the desert. So that's why tonight I want to show you a little bit how it's worked to make it. And as well is something we create for our guests to please all the guests with allergen. So this pastry is vegan, so it's gluten-free, sugar-free, and nut-free. So I will show you how it's works. So the base of the recipe. So first we have the water. So we will do a kind of ganache with the water. We have the sugar and vanilla, and as well we have the xanthana gum, just to replace the gelatin, so fish gelatin or beef gelatin. So we will mix together first. So for the moment I warm the water. So I mix the sugar and the xanthana together to start. And as well, Chef Gina, she will show you how to coat the mold. So I create this mold with a company in Europe. So they're a good friend now because we are developing a lot of mold with them. So Chef Gina will coat the water drop mold. So this chocolate is a white chocolate. So it's a vegan white chocolate. So instead of the cow milk, where they are using the coconut milk. So you have a little taste of coconut inside the chocolate. So we had a little bit of blue color like this. It look like the water drop. So Gina, usually she's putting between 18 grams to 20 grams of chocolate just to create a shell, because the texture of the cream will be a bit more elastic than usual, because we are not using the normal gelatin. So Gina, she's making the shell now, and the chocolate will set to create like a shell. So as well, in this recipe, we have the
vegetarian cream, so it's made with corn. And as well, we have the same white chocolate, the vegan one, and as well some cocoa butter for the texture and for the agility of the cream. As well, in this recipe, this is a vanilla and blueberry. So we made already this morning a small recipe of blueberry marmalade with a small flavor of violet as well, to have something a bit different. And to close the water drop, we made as well this morning is like a base. So same is a vegan base, sugar-free, nut-free, and gluten-free. So with some corn flour, we have buckwheat as well. We put some cranberry. We use the same chocolate as well. So like this, we have a little bit of texture as well. So Chef Gina, she fill up the mold. She leave a little bit on the side. Like this, the chocolate will start to set. And so now we remove the extra chocolate just to create a 2 millimeter shell. So you can see it's coming outside. Because it's not really nice to have a thick chocolate shell. Even if the chocolate is good, it's better to have something very thin. So we made as well this afternoon a few to save some time as well. So usually this cake is one of the best sellers in my shop in Atlantis de Royal, because first, the shape is something different. So I made few as well for you to. Later, I will cut the inside like this. You can see the marmalade and as well the biscuit, and as well those one I fake under the cloche. And as well, we made a very small water drop just for you later on to pass by and you try. I'm sure you will be happy to come on the stage as well to try. So now it's already filled. So I will explain you how to make the vegan mousse. So on this pan is only hot water for now. So the base of the ganache is water, is something a bit different. So on this small plastic container, this is just sugar, the vanilla bean, I grate, and the xanthana gum. So at 50 degrees, slowly, you add the xanthana, the sugar, and the vanilla. And it becomes a bit thick. And you mix until it will boil, just to active the xanthana gum. You know, usually the guests, when they are coming to Atlantis de Royal, they always ask at the pastry counter, I'm sure you have nothing for us because we are vegan or vegetarian. And we always have the water drop as a choice. And as well, we are doing another pastry, is a milk chocolate vegan cake as well, with passion fruit and mango. So we always have on the daily basis 2 options for the guests with a couple of allergens, and we have more options for the gluten-free guests, because it's a bit easier to do a gluten-free than a vegan. And for us, we need to go deep in the creativity to please the guests, because now is more and more requests on the vegan cake, especially in this part of the world. We are close to India, and a lot of Indian guests are vegetarian or vegan. So they're always happy to have something to try. So now I'm boiling the mixture. So to mix properly the vanilla as well. So it's a bit, the texture is a bit, let's say, weird, but it's something different than a normal recipe. So it's boiling. So now I can stop. So we need to boil to active the xanthana gum. So here we have half melted chocolate. So it's more or less melted. As well, I will add the cocoa butter. Okay, so you mix together. After you add the first part, you make like a ganache
with the water. Usually it's not really common to mix water and chocolate. So now you make kind of ganache, you make it, you mix properly. So the texture will be always a bit different than usual recipe. And I want to say this is a great option for guests with allergy or special food allergy. But I want to say it's not yummy as a classic cake. The texture is always a bit different. So we can see the ganache is well mixed. So you can see the texture is a bit more gummy. So now I will mix properly the bottom of the bowl. And as well, you know, the story behind this cake as well, it was at the beginning. We don't want to run as a chicken on a daily basis because we have a guest with a special food allergy or dietary. So we said with the team, let's create something on a daily basis at the counter. Same in the buffet menu, and in the banquet menu, we always have a couple of options. Like this, it's easier for everybody. Thank you, Gina. So now, to do a nice mix is always the same in pastry. You always have something more hard, something more liquid. It's always the liquid one in the hard one to avoid the lump. So just put a little bit to start. Slowly, slowly. Never mix with the whisk. Always with the spatula. And now, slowly, slowly. Yes, Gina, go. Okay, after we'll do the final mix in the large bowl. So you can see, it's quite efficiency. Okay, so now the small quantity, put in the large bowl. Up, thank you. And now the vegan vanilla chocolate mousse is almost ready. You can see the texture, it's quite nice, shiny. Okay, the chocolate mousse is ready now. So now we will pipe inside the shell. So we will pipe half. After we will add the blueberry marmalade. So the blueberry marmalade in the center. Okay. After we add more mousse to close, almost full, and to add some crunchiness, we will add the small cranberry and Rice Krispie base. A little bit on this one, up. So after that, so now we had the small crunchy part. So same, gluten-free, vegan, sugar-free. So I use the coconut sugar for this one because we have the coconut as well in the cake and in the chocolate. So we just close. So this one usually we are doing 60 a day for the cake shop as well. It's quite popular. So now we put in the chiller. So we can see the chocolate is set. So usually we prepare the day before. And for now, I want to say the recipe is done. If you want to pass by to have a bite, and as well, I will show you the inside of the cake as well. So we have something really elegant with a large portion of blueberry and violet marmalade. We have the crunchy part and the very thin layer or thin shell of chocolate, the blue chocolate. Usually we are serving with blueberry juice in the lobby, in my shop. So if you want to pass by to try a couple of cakes, it will be very happy. If you want to try something a bit different, okay. So I always put a small drop of glaze on the top of the drop. This is not frozen. So it's something. I want to say it's the new technique to have a vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, and nut-free cake. Because a while ago, when the gluten intolerant or the vegan guest passed by the restaurant or the pastry shop, let's say 20 years ago, the only option was I don't know, a banana or an apple. So give me Gina one. So Chef Amaury came from Paris to see me. Thank you, Amaury. Yeah. The last one. Yeah, 1 bite and a half. Please. We still have few. Madame. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the texture and the taste. I think it's something a bit special. And please. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Chef Gina, she's the boss. Gina, come.
I can't believe being in this city and having everybody come here. I hope you are all enjoying everything outside. يعني فكري دبي
كله. Okay.
بكره بيعطوك جواز اماراتي.
Thank you, Chef Christophe. Thank you. I think that was the perfect example of how food meets science.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, I mean, just to kind of come up with something that is catering for today's requirements, which are getting more and more complicated.
Exactly, we need to be even more creative.
100%, 100%. And every day there's something new, and we just got to adapt to it.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big round of applause, because we had the privilege to be in one room with world-class chefs, learning, talking, and listening to them present and demonstrate just in one room in Dubai. We are privileged to be here. Thank you, chefs. Thank you, everybody coming from all around the world, everybody that helped. Unfortunately, our last guest couldn't be here tonight. But I promise you that tomorrow is going to be one of the best nights, celebrating at Atlantis Dubai. I can't wait to see you guys. Thank you for your fantastic energy, amazing participation, and I really hope you took away something amazing out of this. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow at Atlantis. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great night.